Hi everyone, today I'm talking about free stocks to hold for 5 years, and this challenge came in from some of you guys and commented down below and said, look, if you had to buy only free stocks and they are the only free stocks that you can own and you had to hold them for 5 years, you couldn't manage the positions all between them 5 years, which free would that be? And I thought that's actually a really good tricky challenge, because I looked at a lot of my stocks and I was like, I could do with like seeing how they're doing in a year's time, maybe a 2 years time, and reassess what's going on with the company and if there's been any fundamentals changes. So I had to buy like 3 companies that I knew would be really solid and not much would change in that company over the next 5 years. And it was and definitely I'd had to think about, you know, what kind of state is the management in, what growth potential do they have, what kind of balance sheet do they have, if something was to happen to this company, would it be okay? And it was actually a really tricky challenge, and I was running a few stocks through by, and I kept knocking them off. Like, I looked at Boeing and thought they'll be okay in 5 years, and I was like, oh, but what happens if airline doesn't recover, or I wasn't able to manage, or it didn't recover as much, something like that. So it was a really tricky challenge, and there was a few companies that were very close that I shortlisted, Microsoft being one of them, which was my favourite company for such a long time. I had Adobe that I shortlisted with how dominant they are in their kind of editing industry. I thought about Tesla, then I thought, yeah, it's a good company for the next 2 to 3 years. It's a little bit expensive right now, but you know, it'll do well over the next 2 to 3 years. And then I thought, what happens if another electric car maker starts catching up to the technology? And it was a really tricky situation to think of. So I've gone with 3 different types of company that I think will be very successful for different reasons. So I'll go through them 3 companies right now. So number 1 is the one that I think most of you guys would have guessed that I'm going to put on this list, and that's Facebook, which is currently my favorite company that is on the stock market right now, and is probably my favorite holding in my portfolio right now. It's one that I've definitely been buying quite heavy over the last couple of months, really. And Facebook, for me, when I look at this company, first of all, when I look at the stock, it's still a pretty cheap stock right now. It's a company that I believe will have massive growth over the next few years, and that's going to go for like the online switch onto advertising platforms, and I think that still has a lot of gain to make. And I still think that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger are still going to be 4 big platforms in 5 years time, and by then they might even have a 5th big platform that are in this list. And I think the online advertising will carry on growing. Facebook is going to be a massive company that builds massive profit over the next few years, massive revenue. When I look at the company and how I think they'll manage the situation over the next 5 years, I look at the company and I think management are looking now and thinking, we've got a lot of cash on this balance sheet, not a lot of debt. Over the next 5 years, we're just going to have even more cash on the balance sheet because of the profit growth and the revenue growth. So from management's point of view, I think they'll manage that really well, with maybe going and buying out a company, maybe aggressive share buybacks, maybe it's a dividend, we'll see. I think as well, they've got a really good team in there that like to create products and management itself. You know, they did a great bargain picking Instagram up, WhatsApp up. It's got a team developing little products with Facebook Shop, hobby that they're working on, and potentially might even go buy something else out. So I think management will manage the future really well, and I think from the company's point of view, it's in a really healthy position with massive growth as well. So I think Facebook is definitely a solid pick to go on this list. Number 2 is Visa, and it could have been MasterCard, but I've gone with Visa because I do like them a little bit more than MasterCard. And I thought, what is definitely going to happen in the future? And I think there's still going to be a lot of payments with cards. And when I think about that, you've got Visa, you've got MasterCard. And I think, you know, when you look at cash is getting like a lot more obsolete, and people are moving to card, especially with the younger generation coming through. A lot of the younger generation pay by card or even Apple Pay. But when I looked at Visa, I think that they're going to capitalise on a lot of that when we see the younger generations coming through who hardly use cash, they're more card. I think like when I look at my friendship group, most of us pay by card now. Not many of us actually hold a lot of cash, and you know, when we're going out, we don't really pay by cash. We all play by card. So I think Visa are in a good position to capitalise on that. As well as that, they've also got the developing countries. So there's a lot of developing countries that don't use a lot of card payments right now. So they'll capitalise on a lot of the economy which grows, and the developing countries that grows. You know, look at something like India. How Visa are going to capitalise on India's growth. Now, you would say MasterCard are a little bit more better at the international side of it, but same again, Visa will still be around about there, and a lot of these developing countries taking them card payments. The company itself is in a good position. It pays a little bit of a dividend, so I'd pick dividend up for the next 5 years. As well as that, the balance sheet's pretty healthy, and we know Visa and MasterCard, they do like to buy a lot of these fintech companies to try and dominate the area as well. So I'm sure I'll be making some good investments with that balance sheet. So yeah, some good growth, some little bit of dividend, and I think the management also have a good balance sheet to play with and invest in other companies. So I thought Visa would go down as number 2. And number 3 is Disney, which I think might shock a few of you guys because I don't think you were going to expect me to put Disney down, but another company that's quite different from these two. And I put Disney down because I think that the valuation isn't too bad on Disney. Like, I think a few people say that Disney should have a bit of a cheaper valuation, but when I look into Disney now, all I see for the theme parks is being very successful. I see the merchandise being very successful, and I see the movies that will come out being successful, and the purchases that they've made on rights like Star Wars, Simpsons. I think that it just gives them a greater depth of movies that they'll be able to bring out in the future. And obviously there's the one big game changer with Disney, which is Disney Plus. And I really like Disney Plus platform. I think it's a little bit underrated, and I feel like when you look at Disney Plus and you compare it to its main competitor, which is Netflix, Disney's growing at a faster rate what Netflix did, and the great benefit Disney has is the amount of shows and characters that it already owns, and it's easy for it to turn it into TV programs and movies on Disney Plus, and the movies they bring out of cinema to put on Disney Plus, and it's a cheaper platform than Netflix. And when you look at what success Netflix has had, and it's been difficult for them to kind of create them shows and pay for them rights for them TV shows, and losing some of them to Disney now. And sure, Netflix has created some amazing shows now, but it's taken them like 19 years to do that. You look at Disney and how many rights they own. It's so easy for them to do shows now. They can easily go, well, we own the rights for Marvel, so we can just do any Marvel TV programs or exclusive movies. And imagine the amount of fans that would subscribe to that platform if it was like an Avengers that was on Disney Plus only. You got Obi-Wan Kenobi, a great show, TV show that all them Star Wars fans will be wanting to watch. That's something like Netflix can't compete with. And when you talk about Netflix, you talk about a company that trades at a very high PE, a company that offers some massive growth. But you look at Disney and you go, well, Disney's going to now benefit from a lot of this growth. So is Disney now going to be classed as a growth platform? Is it now, because it's growing EPS at 10%, revenue at 10%, is Disney now a growth stock? And Disney's never been a growth stock. So for it to now be classed as the potential to become a growth stock, and with Netflix at a higher valuation and Disney at definitely a lot lower valuation than what Netflix is at as a PE ratio, can Disney now command a higher PE because it's going to be growing at a lot faster rate? And as well as Disney, you get that dividend as well. You don't get that with something like a Netflix. So when I look at Disney, it's a company that's starting to turn into a growth company, and it also pays a dividend and has a lot more income streams than something like a Netflix. So it's a very diverse company. I think it's a very safe company, and it's also turning into a little bit of a growth company here. So I really like Disney, and I think that's one that I think the Disney Plus side of it will really benefit the company over the next 5 years. And in my opinion, if I was to bet on which is going to be the bigger platform, Disney Plus or Netflix in 5 years' time, I would actually put my money on Disney. So I might get good odds for that, but yeah, I think Disney Plus is going to be absolutely massive in the next 5 years. So number 3 is Disney, and I hope you enjoyed them 3 stocks that I picked as my holds for the next kind of 5 years if I weren't able to sell or buy any stocks in the next 5 years and just hold them out for the next 5 years. Let me know down in the comment section which 3 stocks you would pick. I'll be really interested to see which 3 you would have to pick. I always find that sort of interesting, and as always, if you can like the video, that would be absolutely amazing. If you subscribe if you haven't watched the channel before, that would be really awesome as well, and I'll see you in the next video.